It is. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, I want to welcome everyone to our Monday, November 18th, 2019 meeting of the Whitley County Board of Commissioners. We'll start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll start our meeting with our esteemed attorney, Matt Shipman.
Thank you. I have just a couple things kind of to report. They're kind of things that we're still working on. Scott's not here, so I won't talk about that one too much, but Brandon and I have been working on a fuel policy, or it's called a small purchase policy. The statutes in Indiana allow you for policies that are less than, or purchases that are less than $50,000 to have a policy on how you do those purchases and things that makes it a little bit simpler, that will really help, I think, when we're buying fuel from the highway department. So that will be ready, I'm hoping, for December 2nd meeting. Brandon and I met about it again this morning. And then since Scott's not here, Scott had given me a couple of ordinances. One that just had to do with inspections of retail food establishments that we've been working on, and then another one that is kind of a point of sale ordinance that talks about some testing of septics and wells at the time that a transfer happens that we need to work on and investigate and figure out the ramifications of. And I don't know if he's not coming today probably. So all those things are things that are just percolating that we're going to need to talk about, but I thought I'd kind of fill you in a little bit on the only other thing that probably should tell you is that we did have a meeting of community correction folks last week to evaluate some of the potential treatments that'll be available to us for offenders post-sentencing, and that meeting led to needing to find out some more information that we're in the process of working on. So hopefully with the goal being that once Parkview is up and running with the new facility, that we'll be ready to kind of participate in that. I think I have anything else unless you guys have questions.
Yeah, I got a question, maybe whether it's you or Brandon. That fuel purchase agreement you mentioned, so each time we buy fuel, that's a separate agreement, or how's that? Is that what the under the 50,000?
Yep. So that's what this policy will be for. We're still going to I think we're still going to go ahead and get quotes and have those quotes so that we can see them. We're just not going to accept them like we've traditionally done. And then, because of the way a lot of times, I think we have a 10,000 gallon tank, so usually we get call for fuel when we're in the $75,000 or 75,000 range of being empty, I guess. I'm not saying that right, but when we're 3/4 empty, and that will traditionally always fall, unless fuel prices go through the roof, under that limit. And it gives us a little bit more flexibility to be able to, especially because most of the time, as Brandon explained it, he needs it the next day. He doesn't need it in a month. If he's about out of fuel, there's a lot of people that use that fuel facility, so we need to be able to do it right away.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
John Woodmansee, extension contract.
Yes, so the amount for contractual services, I believe, has already been appropriated by county council. By the way, I'm here in lieu of Cindy Barnett, who had a teaching engagement today. So the contractual services amount that we get approved with county council is facilitated through this contract.
John, could you sit up here so everybody can hear? Sorry.
That's all right, I understand. Want me to start over?
Yeah, grab that, Mike.
All right. Is this on then? John Woodmansee, I'm here in lieu of Cindy Barnett, who has a teaching engagement today. As you may or may not be aware, I'm not sure, for some years now, Purdue Extension supplies master's degree level professionals in the county to carry out our programs. The amount for contractual services that was approved by the county council then, in order to facilitate those payments, this is a contract that exists between Whitley County and Purdue University to fund the extension educators in the extension office. So we are Purdue employees that provide these programs, and I think you've gotten a copy of the contract. I've got the original here that needs signed at some point, but I guess at this point I'll just entertain any questions you might have about the contract.
Commissioners?
Phyllis, you got to ask him about that.
No, I just wanted Don to see.
Okay.
So this 110,000, then, John, that is for the extension educators,
Yes.
which are you and Cindy?
Yeah, Cindy, me, and Todd Geiger, who does the 4-H.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the county's portion of our salary, and then Purdue takes care of benefits and our internet connection, a few other things, but this is the agreement that makes that happen.
I move we give George permission to sign this agreement with between the county and Purdue University.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the chairman signing the contract for Purdue Extension.
Second.
Got a second? Discussion?
Yeah, should this require two motions? Because you've got page 1, and then you got appendix 1.
I think it's just one motion. The appendix is just part of the original, it's part of the agreement. It's incorporated into
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, you gave a second on that?
I did,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
John, stick around a little bit.
All right.
Since we don't have much on the agenda, George, fill John in on the job situation here in the county, and since you're on the planning commission, this is something that you're going to have to help wrestle with.
Yeah, what we're looking at right now is our Economic Development Corporation has done a great job of bringing new businesses in. We're about out of industrial sites even, but the problem that brings is we're bringing more and more companies in, and they're needing employees, and the problem has been is that they're stealing employees from other places in the county. And so we're really looking at concentrating on getting housing, more housing, whether it be apartments, whatever, to be able to create a workforce for our people. So, that's something that we really need to start looking at, and, guess that's just,
Yeah.
Places for people to live.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
But it's a great opportunity for us, but we're going to have to start working with some of the developers and our redevelopment corporation. It's just, but it's an opening.
Within the next year, we're gonna need
Yeah.
a lot of new bodies.
Yeah. Ideas at this point, what directions?
Well, I just think we need to make sure that everybody's open-minded at this point so that we can have discussions throughout the year and determine how are we going to attack this, because we're looking at the future here. How do we grow and not stagnate? And that's what we don't want Whitley County to do, is to stagnate. So that's kind of what we're looking at coming up with.
You know, that's kind of off the subject, but while you were here, we had you captured. Thank you.
Thanks, John. You know, on that subject, Pond, did you have anything to say on that subject at all? Pond is with the Upstate Alliance of Realtors.
Yeah. So
Come on up here.
We just completed and released we worked with the regional chamber, or not regional chamber, regional partnership and the Home Builders Association on a report. I don't know if you've seen it, but it does talk about the need for housing, specifically workforce housing. And that number is a little different from community to community because workforce housing is that gap of people who are working that can afford it. So it's a little different from county to county based on the type of jobs and positions that are there. And so our report is available. It does cover Whitley County. So we did the 10 counties that minus Allen, simply because Allen's kind of in its own.
It's just different.
Yes. And so, and so I would recommend at least looking at that. I do know there were a couple housing projects that the Plan Commission didn't approve, and I did reach out to a couple of the developers to see, and I did connect them with the Economic Development Director too. I think we need to look at how can we remove some of the barriers to development, specifically in that workforce housing area. And as I said, it's a little different. In some communities, a lot of the range is at 140 to 250, just a little, different one way or the other, depending on the community.
And that's one thing I think, I thank Pond for working with our EDC, but we really need to, as commissioners, start getting involved in this too, and making sure that we're looking into the future and not just leave it up to the EDC to be involved in this.
Yeah, and it's not just single-family housing either. We looked at multifamily as well. In some communities, it's about half and half, that the need for multifamily is just as bad as single-family. They're getting because the saturation rate is so high, and there's not a lot of vacancy, the rental rates are increasing too. And so that creates a higher demand for the rental side as well.
Okay. Anything for Pond?
I do have a question. I'm curious on the point of sale ordinance for septic, because I worked with the health department in Allen County, and we ended up doing a disclosure form. So I'd be happy to help with that if you want it. We went that route simply because it was, it helped the transaction go smoother without having, especially during winter months, you can't really get, you can't really inspect. And so we went with the disclosure form option. So, and that's what we've used. Feel free to, if you want to connect, just let me know. I'll leave my card with you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And
Thank you.
if you ever have questions, let me know. The report is on our site as well as the Northeast Indiana Regional Partnerships.
Thank you, Pond.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Put you on the spot, so like that. Okay, Brandon Forrester, Highway Department update.
I don't really have a whole lot to report. We did have our first small winter event, and so we started working on our salt grit supply that we had stored in the barn, salt barn, all summer long. Probably went through about a quarter of that. We got the rest of that pulled out into the yard, and this week we'll probably be ordering some more grit and salt. Been working on brushing and some drainage projects, berming if we can, a little bit of patching. Myself, I attended a training session down in Indianapolis, put on by NDOT for community crossings. They have these training sessions every year, and every year they're changing things, and this last one kind of got me going a little bit because it's actually similar to what Matt reported with the fuel purchasing policy. I'm not an attorney or a judge, but my interpretation of the statute says if we buy something less than $50,000 that we don't need to go through this bidding process. Again, my interpretation, Public Works project that's less than $50,000, we don't have to go solicit bids or quotes and sign a contract with a contractor. We can do it with our own workforce. And what I heard them tell us at NDOT is, A, we can't do anything over $250,000 that's a Public Works project. And B, if we're going to apply for work that we do ourselves to get reimbursed for materials, that we have to bid that material separate after we get an award. So we can do annual bids, as we've called them for years and years, longer than I've been here. But as far as any community crossings project, it means nothing, because after we get an award, we will have to bid that material again. Even if we're bidding, if we want to do 20 different segments of road, non-contiguous, it's going to be lumped into one project, and we'll have to bid for those materials. So I'm trying to work with Matt on that also, as far as a purchasing policy, and asked him to look into some of that. It comes down to what constitutes a purchase, what constitutes a project. I'm saying we can, with material, labor, and equipment, we can chip seal a mile of road for less than $12,000. So that's certainly less than their $50,000 threshold. Even if we did 4 contiguous miles, it would be less than $50,000. But so I'm not sure where they're getting their interpretation of the statute, and all I know what my interpretation says. But regardless, there is a call for projects January 6th, I believe. And I've been working on, or all of us actually, we redid our Paiser ratings for all the roads. And to apply for community crossings, you have to have an updated asset management plan. So we applied all the new Paiser ratings and come up with a 5-year plan, which, that's it. There's about 230 miles on there, I think. 250 miles over the next 5 years, which includes chip seal, paving, 2-inch overlay, like we did last year, and or I guess it was earlier this year, and some gravel conversion. So, of those three project types, currently, the way the rules are, the only one that we're going to be able to apply for community crossings is going to be the paving projects, which the good news on that is you get the money up front as opposed to with force account, so chip seal, you get the money reimbursed for materials after the fact. I was kind of hoping to do a force account project, get the money back at the end of the year, do it for roads that we were going to do anyways, get the money back at the end of the year, and then have a nice pot for the following year, but, so that's where we're at with that. We're still dealing with some roads that have deteriorated beyond what we would prefer. We're being rated as 2s, and as it is now, we'll have dealt with, I think, all of those, or the vast majority of those, within the next 2 years. Some need paved, some need.
Brandon, how many miles of paving do you have left to go with the program? Do you have
As far as.
your 5-year program, how many miles of paving do you have?
Oh, let's see, I had, for 2020, and let me think about this now. I don't have those exact numbers in front of me, but for
That's fine.
2020, I think I had about 12 and a half, 21, about 14. 22 was about 9 and a half, 23, 7 and a half, and 24 was about 6, so 6, 13, 22, and 30, about 52 miles. Now that's including some roads that we've identified that we've previously done work on that are just really rough. There's multiple ways you could treat those roads, but we've been trying some different things over the last couple of years, and I believe that that's probably a good solution if we can just do some 2-inch overlay. We'll obviously have to look at some spots on some of these. If there's some soft spots or something, we'll dig those out. But so we've got quite a few roads that are really rough. We've got Business 30 and Lincoln Way on the radar a couple years out. Those were resurfaced, probably about from 2000, 2002, 2005, 2008, 2006, 2008, something like that. So it's been a while, but those are, our busier roads. And then we've also got some subdivisions. We did work around the lakes, and we've done a few small subdivisions that roads had been neglected, but we're getting some subdivisions in the plan also. So, yeah.
Brandon, let me make sure I understand what you talked about earlier. This material bid has to be done at the time of this, not at the beginning of the year like normal.
Correct. They told us that for community crossings, we cannot use annual bids.
But you also said that in the community crossing stuff, you're only going to use paving stuff now instead of the stone and chip and seal.
That's because of the way, that's what I'm proposing.
Okay.
Is that for 2020, we do a paving community crossings project rather than, say, a chip seal project, because of the way that it was bad enough as it was, but if I wanted to propose 50 or 100 miles of chip seal, I have to identify every segment, whether it's a 1/10 of a mile long segment or an 18-mile long segment. I have to identify every segment, and it's not as it is in our GIS, it's how it is in their mapping system. And I have to for each segment, I have to give them a detailed estimate on how much it's going to cost for mobile and mobilization of the contractor's equipment or our equipment, give them labor cost, equipment cost, for each segment. I have to tell them how many tons of liquid asphalt we're gonna spray on that road and how many tons of stone we're gonna put on that road for every segment in an estimate. And then when we bid it, we have to bid it that way also. We have to bid it for specific tons for each road, like IMI and Huntington cares after we pick the stone up where we're gonna put it. It's
who,
very frustrating, trust me.
so who from NDOT thought all this up?
I don't know. But they've been talking to State Board of Accounts, so they're,
All right. Well, the only concern I got, if you're gonna go to the paving to make this bid process easier for you, we're not gonna get behind on the chip and seal, are we?
well, and that's,
That's an issue that that's why I'm asking.
sure. I don't, Kevin and I went and drove every road that the guys had rated as a 2. The same as we've done every year since the first time we did it. And we looked at a lot of other roads, like some roads that we had sealed in 2016 that are actually surprisingly holding up. Yes, there's some cracking in the roads, and yes, they're rough. I can say if the roads that we looked at here in the last 2 weeks are the worst that we've got as far as breaking up and falling apart, crumbling, alligator cracking, we're in pretty good shape. I would still kind of rather do about 80 miles of chip seal and try and actually get a little further ahead on, that's more of a maintenance operation, Geez, if we go out and pave a road, that's like a new road in Whitley County. NDOT in Allen County, those communities, they don't see it that way because they have all, chip sealing for NDOT is just purely just a maintenance activity, where for us, if you get your road chip sealed, Jesus, like you got a new road this year, So I would rather do more chip sealing in 2020, but the way they've got it set up, there's no way. There's no way. So we'll try and get some money for some paving. It's something that will be an improvement to a few of our roads. It's not going to be as huge of an impact, but it's quote unquote free money.
You gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Will we still do the annual bids in January?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, because we still have other things that we need those materials for.
Yeah.
Like cold mix, patch, for
Non-community crossing stuff, yeah.
That's another thing about I could go on. The good thing you have a short agenda. Point that Kevin brought up to me is that because not only can you not bid the materials on a force account project until after you get a community crossings award, I mean, this is the time of year where we would normally stockpile 11s. You can't do that with community crossings. You cannot procure the materials until after you get the award and sign a contract for that specific project. So, we're gonna still have to do annual bids, so we can
Yeah.
buy 11s.
That's what I
for next
figured.
year, and,
Okay.
Do you have more equipment purchases planned, or?
We've got the 2 single axles ordered, and we're looking at a new payloader. That was in our plan. I was directed that if it's in the plan, you need to make the purchase in that year, so we're getting started on looking at some different models, and, you know, our good loader is getting worn out and didn't really have the power that we thought it did when it was purchased before my time. That'll be our backup. The one that we've got for a backup is a real dog, so that's the plan for 2020.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Brandon? Thank you,
Okay,
Brandon.
thank you.
Okay, Don, you've taken a look at claims.
Yeah, I did. I had a chance last Friday to look at the claims, and everything looked fine to me. I would make a motion that we approve the payroll claims at this time.
Got a motion to approve the payroll claims.
Second.
Got a second. Discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
And then I would make a motion that we approve the accounts payable claims.
Got a motion to approve accounts payable claims for this run.
Second also.
Got a second? Other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you. We've been very fortunate. The claims have been clean.
Excellent. Thank you.
Jenna and her crew does a good job on that. We appreciate it.
And then you guys tabled the 21st minutes.
Right.
Last meeting because like Tom wasn't here.
Yep.
Tom wasn't here, and then
Don
Don
couldn't.
wasn't here at this one. So
Yep. Okay, we have the minutes for October 21st, 2019 for you. You've had a chance to take a look at them, so are there any amendments, any changes at all?
October 21st.
Yeah, because this is the one that we had to table the last time because you weren't here and Don wasn't here for the
Oh, okay.
meeting before that, so.
I move we approve the October 21 minutes.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. I'll second. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Abstain.
Thank you. One abstention.
this is what
I would make a motion that we approve the November 4th minutes as presented to us.
Got a motion to approve the November 4th, 2019 minutes as presented.
Abstain.
Got one abstention. I will second. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Jennifer?
I don't have anything.
Matt? Jana?
I didn't know if you've seen it or not, but we received our 1782 notices today. So
What did it say?
everything was approved as presented for the budgets. The only thing that was cut a little bit was the highway. I've already talked to Brandon about it, brief discussion. We already have a plan for that. So I think I have 10 days to respond, so
Great.
I'll let you guys know.
So general fund passed?
It's good. Yep. Everything else was approved as presented,
good.
so,
Excellent.
yeah.
Good.
Just wanted to let
Good.
you know.
I was telling these guys at lunch, like, to say you got your 1782 in November is like,
Christmas, huh?
well, yeah, I mean, it's, for years it was in February.
I was gonna
so,
say, I remember getting it in
Yeah.
February.
what that means is all of our departments did their jobs and the state did their jobs, so. Because remember, your budgets didn't have to be in till November 1st. And here it is, November 18th, and we got our 1782. That's just great. That's just no other word for it.
Yeah, we want to congratulate, again, the auditor's office and all the rest of the departments for doing their jobs. Thank you, Laurel. Okay, Don, did you have anything?
If I can take a minute or so, I'll tell you about the ADA situation. I met this morning with 4 representatives from Engineering Resources, and at that time they gave us a revised schedule. So let me do a little history here real quick. Brandon talked about community crossings. NDOT's made it very, very clear that if a county or town or city is not totally ADA compliant, you're not going to get any money. It's just that simple. So we can't afford not to hire these people to get our ADA plan done. So we're real excited about that, and so I'll share with you the revised schedule. The initial meeting was today. Kyle Pepler and I met with them. They will do the field investigation work in December and January. We plan to hold a public meeting in February, and it would help if you could think of someone that we need to make sure we invite. In other words, if there's a league for the blind in the county, we need to invite them. I'm going to talk to Dennis, our VSO, because a lot of soldiers coming back have service dogs and things like that, and we have to make sure we get everybody. Passages was another one. We need to get anybody who ADA is important to them. We need to get them there at the meeting.
Senior Citizen Center.
Senior citizen, yep, thank you. So that public meeting we hope to hold in February. We'll have a draft ADA report in March, review it in April. We'll have a public review and comment meeting in June of 20, and a final ADA report in July, and we'll roll it all out then in August of 20. So that's where we are on that project there. So I appreciate you giving me a chance to get this done.
Thank you, Don.
Yep.
They got to be more than, a lot more than what we thought it was
Oh
going
my
to be.
gosh, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all for me, thank you.
I don't have anything at this time. I already did talk about the housing thing, so.
I don't have anything, Jana, nothing. Public? Anyone from the public have anything?
At Shipman, are we having a sewer meeting tomorrow?
Yes, we are.
5:30?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Laurel?
Yes, the county attorney and I received a certified letter from a taxpayer about 3 weeks ago, and he specified in there that he would like a response within 3 weeks, so I was just wondering, Matt, is there going to be
Yeah,
a response, or, just so I know, because it will be addressed, I'm sure.
I wasn't planning on responding. I don't think it needs a response, but maybe we could talk about it after the meeting to make sure that that's what makes sense to you.
Thank you, Laurel. Laurel is our county treasurer. Anyone else?
One other question for Matt. What's on the agenda for the sewer meeting tomorrow?
Columbia City.
Yeah, a couple of interlocal agreements. Stable Acres is not on the agenda. A couple of interlocal agreements, updates on Churubusco,
Thank you.
agreements, things like them.
Okay, I'll call for the question.
Move adjourned.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.